Okay, my name is Patrick Doin. I work since 7 years for XFP filters, and I am a technician manager. I make some installation on engine, and I work with Remy Mangano.
Hi, I'm Remy.
On there.
I'm the inventor of the XFP filtration system. So I designed the system, and we started the company in 2007. Historically, Patrick and I both worked for a filtration company that makes big self-cleaning filters for engines with output power over 4,000 horsepower. So it's for very big engines on big boats and power stations. And I came up with the idea of doing a self-cleaning filter for the car industry and trucks and tractors and off-highway machines.
So how long did it take you to develop the product?
Product development took around 3 to 4 years from doing all the drawings, applying for patents, and doing the first prototypes that we tested with our first customer back in 2007.
So who was your first customer?
It's Veolia Propreté. It's a big company in France. They have what we call refuse trucks, garbage trucks. And they wanted to test our system to see if they could efficiently save on oil filters, and also on oil drains. And that's when we found out with them that on the first units tested for 2 years, they didn't have to do any oil drains. So that saved them about 6 oil drains, and they didn't have to change any oil filters.
Since then, have they changed their oil since the first installation?
On the first trucks, they have never changed the oil. They've used these trucks for 4 years. When they get rid of the trucks, they actually take off the XFP filtration system so that we can refurbish it, so they can reuse it on another truck. Basically, with our filtration system, we can say that with all our customer base, you're saving about 5 oil drains. It can be even more.
You mentioned about the patented technology. So can you tell us what makes XFP filters, different from all other filters in the world?
Well, we're the only company that proposes a self-cleaning filter for this type of engine. I mean, engines that are under 1,000 horsepower. So that's your car application, your tractors, your trucks, your buses, your taxis. And no one else proposes this technology for this size of engine. All the other filters you will find are paper filters or cleanable filters, but that means you need to open the filter and clean it. Our technology is that the filter is self-cleaning, and that means that you never touch the filter, you just leave it on the engine until you get rid of your engine.
Oh, okay, that's really great to know. Since your first installation, Patrick, have you had any issues with your customers?
Yes, of course. And in fact, when we have started the first on the first engine, it was a premium engine. We replaced the paper filters by our system, and during roughly 3 years, they didn't have any change the oil, because we make a test by analysis of oil to compare at the first step during the time. And during this operation, we save by each time by drain 32 liters at each time. And we arrived at 9 twice where we save the oil.
Okay,
We
that
can
means,
multiply
yes.
32 liters by 9 without change the filter.
Okay, so that means that since the first installation, you haven't had any technical problems to go back to, the trucks didn't have any problems?
We never meet any problem with the system, and the final customer was very happy, and we make new order for other engines.
I have a question for both of you. What is the motivation of your clients for buying those products? I mean, I will say from the buses, trucks, and cars.
Well, the main motivation is, the first is that they're going to save on oil. And when you're saving on oil, that also means you're going to be saving on downtime, because most of the time you're bringing in a truck to do an oil change. That's the first thing you're going to do. Of course, sometimes you need to change the air filters and the fuel filters, but usually the periodicity is less. So that means they're saving downtime on the truck. I mean, for a truck to do a complete oil drain, filter change, you're counting maybe 3-4 hours, so that's half a day the truck is not running. When they install our system, when it's time for the oil drain, they only take an oil sample from the engine. They have just a small purifier that we install with the XFP system that they need to train. So that takes maybe 15 minutes to half an hour. So the truck is coming in, half an hour later he's back on the road. So that's the big motivation. The fact they're saving 5 oil drains, the minimum, that's a lot of savings on oil costs, oil recycling costs. The fact you're not changing any filters means you're saving on filter recycling costs. And also maybe the fact that they can reuse it on their next engine. That's also an important fact, is that it's a long-term investment. It's not a kit you're going to buy for a year of use. You're going to use the system maybe 10, 15, 20 years. So that's the big motivation for our customers.
So aside from the taxi, trucks and buses, what are the other applications, Patrick?
About other application, we can have also marine, we can have mechanical agriculture, and we have Janset
Gensets.
What about the boats? Can you give me an example
for
for the boats?
the boats. We have so sorry because my English is not so good. I am a typical Frenchman, but it is near Eiffel Tower. It is bateau mouche, fly boat in Pont de l'Alma. It is where
Yeah,
we
but
are
Touche
installed.
is a very prominent company in France. Like yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my partner forget one thing is also it is because it is a real ecologic system for the green planet because we don't have any garbage to put out.
Mhm.
We save the planet with this system because we save the oil. We don't have to destroy the bad oil.
I see. So
It's very
Excellent
important.
news for
Excellent.
ecology.
absolutely.
So now I'm sure by now the people who are listening are curious to know how do the customers start with the first installation? How do they go about it when they have decided to install the filters?
Well, since the system is new to them, I mean, it's an innovation, it's a technological innovation. So people, of course, at the beginning, they're quite skeptical when we present the system, even if we have good references with known customers in France. But usually the first customer, he will want to try the system. And basically to try the system, he's going to say, well, probably I'm going to try it on 10% of my fleet. So he's going to buy 10% of his fleet for filtration systems, and he's going to try them for a period of 6 to 1 year. And after this 6 to 1 year, since he will see the results when it comes to oil analysis, that the oil stays in good condition, that he's saving on oil drains and filters, then he will take the further step of progressively equipping his complete fleet with the filtration system. I mean, we have customers that have already decided that they are going to stop buying conventional filters, and so they're getting rid of their stock, and when they're rid of their stock, they're installing our systems instead on their machinery.
Okay, so the last question. Can you give us some real examples on the savings and benefits that your existing clients have enjoyed, like in terms of like real savings, like in terms of like how many oil drains, you know, like from actual experience?
Okay, so on average, a customer will save usually on minimum around 5 oil drains, and we're talking about agricultural applications or sweepers that have that are heavy duty on the engine. With Veolia on the refuse trucks, like I told before, basically they're not changing the oil when we're putting our system. They're using the truck for 4 years without changing the oil, so that can add up to 9 oil drain savings. And on a truck, I mean, one oil drain is around 30 liters, so that's a lot of oil saving involved, plus the downtime.
Yes. So in fact, when you mentioned about the Veolia truck, it means I think we discussed this before that they have run for around 90,000 kilometers already, and it's still going, right?
That's correct. There is one truck that has 90,000 kilometers on it, on the oil. It's still running, no oil change, and the typical interval in this truck is changing the oil every 10,000 kilometers. So there are over 9 oil drains saved right now.
Okay, just for the benefit of those interested, so how do they know that it's time to change the oil?
Well, with our system, it's quite simple. You don't do the oil drain, but you take an oil sample. When you get the result of the oil analysis, you know if at the next interval you will just take another sample or do an oil drain. There's a scoring system on the oil analysis that allows us to know if for the next time sampling is enough or if you need to do the complete oil drain of the engine. There's another benefit of the oil analysis is that you actually know the health of your engine. I mean, if you're just changing your oil at your regular intervals and not checking your oil, you might miss a problem on the engine. There's too much contamination, a component going wrong, you have coolant in your oil, that can also happen. The oil analysis helps predicts failures, and so you can diagnose your engine with the oil analysis. So that's an added benefit using our system.
I have a question. Does it mean that the engine can last longer if we don't change the oil, if the oil stay always clean inside the engine?
Well, we're not saying the engine's going to last longer. We're saying is that with our system, since we're filtering 100% of the oil, I mean, there's no bypass valve in our filters, the oil actually is not getting polluted like it would with a conventional filter, and that's the key difference, is that we are able to maintain the oil clean enough for a longer period of time. So that also means that there's less wear on your engine, so that you should be able to use your engine for a longer period of time.
Okay, this one is the super last question. No, because I'm just wondering, because of all these benefits, does it result in any fuel savings as well, or it makes the engine, stronger, or the vehicle accelerate faster?
Putting the XFP filtration system on your engine won't change the performance. However, with a conventional filter, when it starts to clog, when the oil gets dirty, there's more friction in the engine, so you're going to have a little bit of power loss if you're not changing your oil. When you're using a system, you don't have this phenomenon. This means that if you're using the XFP filtration system, you're not losing on your power after 20,000 or 30,000 kilometers. So we're maintaining the engine power when it comes to the oil lubrification. That's the key difference.
How about the fuel savings? Is there any?
Well, fuel savings, we've done a test with a public laboratory in France. Paper filter, XFP filter, clean oil. The performance, the pollution is exactly the same. Now, what's happening with a conventional filter is when your oil is getting dirty, it's starting to have more friction. You're starting to have more restriction on the filter because it's getting clogged. And so that's when you're starting to consume more fuel. I mean, you're not going to consume 10% more, but maybe 2 to 5% of fuel consumption increase you will see with a conventional filter. So that's a power loss on your engine, and we don't have that with our system.
Okay.
There
Yes.
is also one thing very important. It is on XFP filters. You can take your pressure on the filter. You can put a manometer at inlet of the filter and outlet of the filter. You can see the difference of pressure between inlet and outlet. With the traditional paper filter, if the bypass is open, you never know when it is open. You never know when your engine is running with unfiltering oil. For example, today, if I ask you why you change your paper filter, can you say me why? You cannot say why, because you didn't know. It is impossible to see if the pressure is good, if the bypass of the traditional paper filter is open or closed. When you start your engine, for example, the viscosity of oil is very high. And what's happened? The bypass is open. Your engine running with unfiltering oil. With our filter, it's impossible. And you can have a chain point with a control arm directly at where you drive. For the driver, you can have 2 manometers, pressure inlet, pressure outlet, and you see what's happened with the filter. And if there is a problem with the automatic filter, it's like a fuse of an electrical installation. If the fuse is broken on electrical installation, you never think that it is the fault of the fuse. You think it is a problem on the electrical line. For the filter is exactly the same. When the filter began to clog, it is not his fault. He is here for filtering. He do his job. It is not a problem with the filter, because if he do his job, there is a problem on the loboid system, not with the filter. It is very important.
So in conclusion, I would say that most of the buses and the trucks and as well the boats, ships,
generator sets
should enjoy these XFP filters in order to save, in order to enjoy a better.
I have a
functioning.
concrete example, for example, again, with the ship fly, bateau mouche. We have installed at the first engine last year for one engine. Last month, we have installed for 3 more engines. Next month, before the end of this year, we have another complete ship with four engines, and another one with 2 automatic filters on 1 engine. In fact, we have 6 installations to do before the end of this year. And next year, we have all the ship of the company to do.
Wow!
It is
Congratulations.
it is the step by step.
So in other words, yeah, the
One in
yes.
tests for at the final customer with
Yes.
analysis with our
Yes.
support, of course, and one for roughly 6 to 8 months. After we again for one ship, and now we go for all the ship.
Yeah. So
It's
in
not
conclusion,
10%,
yes,
10% like we have said, because
Yes.
for example in Sevran, it is a Veolia group.
yes,
Since the starting in 2007, there was 60 truck on the power. In fact, today we have roughly 30 truck engine equipped with our filter, and they want to continue.
So the quality of the product and the performance and the results speak for
Now it's
itself.
proved.
Yes, it's proven.
It's
It's
proved by the final customer.
Yes.
Not by us, by the final customer. For
Yes.
example, when we have started with our filters, we cannot imagine that during the time we can reduce the consumption of diesel. We know that for the loboid, very, very good, but it was impossible to imagine that we can reduce the consumption of diesel, right?
But we don't reduce the consumption. It's that the engine doesn't consume more because the filter, the lubrification system stays
Absolutely,
healthy.
but at the starting up, we didn't know that.
Yes.
Yes.
It is the final customer who say, "Oh, please, since we have your filter, we reduce your consumption."
It's an
It is not
additional.
us. It is the final customer who said that.
So
Yeah.
in other words, there were benefits that came up that was not planned in
It's
the
a
first
plus.
place.
Yes.
It's a plus.
Yeah, cool. Okay,
And of
so
course, again, for ecology, if you reduce the consumption, you reduce the emanation of CO2.
Yes.
Again, ecology.
excellent. So thank you very much and
Thank you.
good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Yeah.